Think you can't start prepping on a budget? Watch me build a survival pantry from Dollar Tree without breaking the bank. Hey guys, it's Jara with Wicked Prepared. Welcome to the channel. Did you know that over half of American households don't have enough food stored to last even a week in an emergency? Meanwhile, natural disasters are getting more and more frequent and more severe, and many people are closer than ever to a personal financial disaster. The biggest reason that people aren't prepared is money. That's why so many families are one disaster away from empty shelves and empty stomachs. But here's the good news. You don't need to spend a fortune to get prepared. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a solid prepper pantry from Dollar Tree. Yes, Dollar Tree. So you can keep your family safe without breaking the bank. Be sure to stay tuned to the end of the video for some more important points about budget prepping and how much I spent. If you have a favorite prepper pantry item from Dollar Tree, be sure to drop it down below in the comments. Let's head on over to Dollar Tree and get shopping. I'm going to head straight over to the food aisle. Dollar Tree might have a small selection, but sometimes it's actually harder to make choices when there's too many options. I'm going to start by picking up a couple of breakfast options. My goal here is to have about 4 weeks worth of meals for one person, so I'm looking to cover at least 28 breakfasts, 28 lunches, and 28 dinners. I'm going by serving size as listed on the package, and yes, I know those serving sizes are small, and many of us typically eat more than a single serving. But remember a couple of things. Number one, this is budget and it's survival. We are getting bare necessities here, and this can always be added to over time as funds allow. Also, in most cases, we'll be combining these servings with servings of other foods for a larger meal. And there's going to be extra servings of some of these foods that can be used to bulk up the meals whenever you need to. For breakfast, I'm grabbing a bag of these quick oats, and it has 20 servings in this bag, and a box of complete pancake mix with 12 servings. These are not going to be the most nutritious breakfasts, but they will keep you from going hungry. If you had a little extra in the budget, you could grab some canned fruit or raisins to bump up the nutrition a bit, but I skipped that to keep the cost down. I'm also going to grab this bottle of syrup. This can be obviously used on the pancakes, but you can also use some of it to sweeten the oatmeal. And it's going to still give you more for less cost than buying those packets of flavored oatmeal. Next, I'm going to grab a few pantry staples. A lot of budget challenges assume you already have these things on hand, but I didn't want to do it that way, and I think these are some really very important staples that should be in every prepper pantry. I'm going to grab some salt, a bottle of cooking oil, and this small bag of flour that they sell at Dollar Tree. I'm also going to grab a couple quarts of this shelf-stable milk, which is one of the best preps they sell at Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree has all different kinds of milk, even non-dairy. I'm going to be grabbing the whole milk today. I'm also going to pick up some bouillon. This is the cheapest way to add a lot of flavor to a lot of dishes. It's going to be a lot cheaper than buying prepared canned broth and take up less space as well. Honestly, I would have preferred to get chicken bouillon because I feel like that's more versatile. But this is what they had at my Dollar Tree, and the beef bouillon gives you more for the same amount of money. Next, I'm heading over to the part of this aisle that has the classic prepper pantry staples of beans and rice. I'm going to pick up one of these bags of white rice. This plain long grain white rice comes in a 2-pound bag here at Dollar Tree for just $1.25, and it's going to give us 20 servings. This white rice is going to make a base for so many meals, and it's a great way to stretch meals as well. We'll end up with some extra servings of the rice that we could use to bulk up other meals or to add a little bit of different variety. I'm actually not going to grab any of these bags of dried beans. I've found that most people don't end up turning to those beans that they've stored during emergencies because they take so long to cook, they usually need to be soaked, and it just doesn't end up being practical. So there's a couple other things I'm going to grab instead. I'm going to first pick up this bag of lentils. Lentils cook up a lot faster and easier than dried beans, and they don't need to be soaked, but they give you basically all the same nutrition as the beans do. They form a complete protein with the rice, they have all the fiber, they're just a lot more practical for emergency use. I'm also going to pick up a canned option that won't really need any cooking at all to speak of, only heating. I don't want to get plain canned beans because then I'm going to have to season them, so I'm looking at options that already have a sauce or seasoning or some other ingredients. Dollar Tree has canned chili with beans, and they also have this pork and beans. Looking at the servings and the nutritional info, at first glance, it looks like the chili has considerably more protein than the pork and beans. But then I realized the serving size is twice as big on the chili, so that explains it. So really the pork and beans has essentially the same amount of protein, and it's a bigger can than the chili. I'll get more food for the same amount of money, so that's what I chose to go with. I'm also going to pick up a few more canned items. Looking over the soups and stews, I wanted something that was going to have some meat and some vegetables in it. I picked up this Campbell's vegetable beef soup, but after looking around, I ended up settling on the beef stew because it had a lot of the same ingredients, but it provided a lot more calories and protein for the same cost. Usually we think of less calories as a good thing, but when it comes to buying survival food on a budget, we want to pack as much food value as we can into each item we buy. These may not be the healthiest calories you can buy, but they will help keep you fed just the same. I'm also going to grab some cans of diced tomatoes. This is an ingredient that can go into so many meals, so I'm going to get 4 of these. I also decided to pick up a can of refried beans for some more protein. My store has the pouch and the can. I went with the can because it's a little more food for the same amount of money. Next, I'm going to move on to the pasta section. Pasta is a great Prepper Pantry staple because it's cheap and filling and most people like it. It also cooks more quickly than either beans or rice. It's also usually enriched, meaning they've added some vitamins or minerals to help guard against nutritional deficiencies that can come from a limited diet like you might consume during an emergency, especially if budget has been a factor in building your emergency pantry. You can see with these pastas, we're getting 10 servings for $1.25. People tend to think of ramen as the ultimate cheap food, but here at Dollar Tree, you can only get 5 servings of ramen for the same cost as these 10 servings of pasta. And the oils in ramen cause it to go rancid rather quickly in storage, which I've never had happen with my plain pasta. I'm picking up a box of spaghetti and a box of elbow macaroni to make a variety of meals, and that's going to give us 20 servings. I'm also going to pick up a couple of different pasta sauces. I'm grabbing Alfredo and red sauce, once again, to be able to have some variety. My Dollar Tree has several different brands now, but these Hunts are the cheapest for the red sauce. You have to be really careful at Dollar Tree these days because not everything is $1.25 anymore, at least not at my store. I chose the meat-flavored spaghetti sauce here because it does have 1 more gram of protein than all the others. Next, even though I focused on getting protein where I could so far, I'm going to get a few more proteins because that's a very important nutrient to make sure you have covered in your preps. I've already picked up some bean products and the lentils. I'm going to add a jar of peanut butter, and then I'm going to come on down to the canned meat section. I'm going to pick up some of these Vienna bites, not the healthiest protein, but it's a pretty good amount in this can. I have used these in recipes and had some good results. Also, they are packed in chicken broth that we can also use in our meals. That's something to remember in an emergency. Don't ever throw away the liquid that's in the cans with the food. Not only is it a source of water, which is always a precious commodity during an emergency, but it also usually contains salt, which is an electrolyte, and adds seasoning to our food. Not only that, but also a good amount of the nutrition from the food itself seeps out into that liquid. So you're losing some of the nutrition when you drain those cans and discard the liquid. I'm also grabbing a couple cans of chicken, which can add protein to many different meals. And this one is a protein that most people like. The last protein I'm going to pick up today is probably going to be the most controversial item in this haul today. I chose this can of mackerel. A lot of people, if they like fish, keep canned tuna in their Prepper Pantry. Tuna is a great healthy protein source, but I find that mackerel is very, very similar to tuna. So if you like tuna, you'll probably won't have a problem using mackerel where you usually use tuna, especially if it's in a recipe with other ingredients. And you can see you get a much bigger can of the mackerel for the same price as the tuna. But if this idea bothers you, you could certainly grab the tuna instead, or if you don't like fish at all, just get more of the other proteins. You should never stock anything in your Prepper Pantry that you wouldn't want to eat. Don't tell yourself if you're starving, you would eat it. Fill your Prepper Pantry with foods you like to eat. Finally, I'm going to add a few cans of vegetables to my cart. We can't pretend this is a super healthy diet that we're putting together here. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to tick all those boxes. Shelf stable, cheap, and healthy. We're just trying to build a basic budget stash of food that could keep you fed. Once you have a base like this, you can start to build it out and add healthier options here and there as you come across them and as your budget allows. But sometimes just getting a basic food storage started can give you so much peace of mind in the meantime. With the vegetables, like everything else, I'm trying to find the most nutrition for the cost, given what I have to work with here. So I ended up picking up peas because they have more protein than the other vegetables. And I got carrots and yams because I know they're a better source of vitamin A and other important nutrients with their bright orange color. My Dollar Tree does sell a different brand of canned vegetables that's less expensive. I think they're 75 cents a can. I actually meant to grab those to keep the cost down, but they're in a different area of the aisle, and I totally forgot that that's what I wanted to grab. So I wouldn't have gotten the carrots or the yams though with that brand, so I guess I'm okay with these. One last thing I want to pick up today, and it's not in the food aisle. Over in the medicine aisle, we can pick up a multivitamin. While it's best to get our nutrition from our food, that can be difficult when we're relying on a limited food supply. So it's never a bad idea to have a bit of extra insurance. Now I'm ready to check out and bring it all home. I'll show you some of the ways that I would combine these Prepper Pantry staples to make meals during hard times. Now I designed this to be pretty much a mix and match kind of pantry. So we're doing breakfast, lunch, and dinners, and the base of every meal is really going to be a starch. That's the basis of most simple, cheap meals. So we've got things like oatmeal and pancakes, we've got flour, we've got the rice, and we've got the pasta. So those can serve as the base of most of these meals. Everything else, I'm going to show you different ways that I would put these foods together and what kind of meals I would make with them, just for some different ideas. But this is something that you can change up to suit your own needs for sure. So I'm going to start talking about breakfast because that's the easiest. Of course, we do have the oatmeal and the pancake mix. Both of these only need water to prepare them. But if you wanted to add a little extra nutrition and a little bit of extra protein, you could use the milk in them, certainly. And we also have the syrup that's going to be there to sweeten that. Now, total, we have 32 servings of these, and I'm trying to go for at least 28. So some of this could also serve as a lunch or dinner meal. We've all had pancakes for dinner sometimes, probably. You can also use a pancake like you would use bread and put maybe some peanut butter on it. And complete pancake mix like this is actually really similar to self-rising flour. So I have used it basically the same way I would use self-rising flour. And you can make Depression era peanut butter bread with peanut butter, self-rising flour or pancake mix, and milk. And those are the only ingredients you need. If you wanted to mix it up and do a little bit different breakfast, you can always do rice cooked up with milk and syrup and make like a hot rice porridge. That's a good breakfast as well. Definitely a classic struggle meal. Now let's talk about the staples that we got. The flour and the salt and the oil, these can be used together to make like tortillas or unleavened flatbreads. There's 30 servings of the flour, quarter cup servings, and that would make at least one flatbread or tortilla. So you could get 30 breads or tortillas out of this bag of flour with a little bit of salt and maybe some oil if you wanted. You just fry them up in a pan. They don't need an oven, so that's a really great emergency meal. And of course, we have the oil for frying things. You could also use the flour, salt, and oil with some of the milk to make a cream sauce that could turn a lot of these other ingredients into a simple meal. We've got our rice here. This is 20 servings worth of rice. One really good thing is that you can cook up as much or as little rice as you need at one time, as long as you have a pot the right size. So if you're just serving a couple of people or one person, you can just cook a smaller amount of rice. Lots of things can go on top of the rice, and it's going to stretch that food a little bit further and make it into a more complete and filling meal. So the pork and beans and the beef stew, these can both go on top of the rice. The lentils would be really good if you cook them up with some of the bouillon to make a broth and some of the diced tomatoes to make a lentil kind of stew. You could even throw in some Vienna bites if you wanted, and that would be really good served over the rice as well. There's 10 servings here of the lentils. They could be eaten by themselves or with the rice to make a complete protein. The pasta is going to be another thing that's going to be the base for a lot of meals, lunch and dinner meals. We've got a total of 20 servings of the pasta here. So the spaghetti, that's pretty self-explanatory. That can be cooked up and served with Alfredo sauce or the spaghetti, the red meat sauce. We've got enough sauce here for all of that spaghetti. An important thing with pasta and emergency cooking is to learn how to make one dish pasta meals. And that's where you put the pasta in the pot with your sauce ingredients and enough extra water that the pasta is going to just absorb the water. It's going to cook through and get tender. You're not going to have any water to drain off. It's going to cook right in the sauce. That way we don't waste any water. And that's really important in an emergency. There are charts online that will tell you how much water you need for each ounce of pasta. Of course, we can add other things in with the pasta. We could throw the chicken in with the Alfredo sauce, and some of the vegetables could go in with the Alfredo sauce if you wanted, or the vegetables could be on the side. The macaroni is going to be another basic meal. You can do macaroni with tomatoes. That's a pretty classic struggle meal that's really good. We've got salt that you can add to that. If you add some broth made with the bouillon and some of these Vienna bites and make it more like a soup with the macaroni and the tomatoes, that makes a really, really good dish actually. And it's pretty filling as well. Some of these other proteins, we've got the refried beans. These would be great with tortillas that you make with your flour. And our staples that we have over there, you can make a tortilla, fry it up in a pan, and just wrap it up with some refried beans. And that's going to be a pretty filling little meal for lunch. We also have the peanut butter, which you can do with the tortillas or the flatbread as well. Those are going to be protein-packed and filling little lunches. The Vienna bites, like I mentioned, they make a great addition to a soup dish. You could fry these up and have them with your pancakes for breakfast. Lots of different things you can do with these. You can just eat them plain as you just right out of the can. But if we're going to be making meals out of this, it kind of makes sense to make them into meals. And remember, these are packed in broth that we can use as part of our cooking. If you cook the rice in broth, either from the cans or from the bouillon cubes, it's going to be a lot more flavorful and would be okay as a meal on its own if that was all you had left was some rice and some broth or some bouillon. Another thing you can do with these proteins, the chicken and the Vienna bites, is they would be really good to do a fried rice dish. You could do chicken fried rice or I don't know what you'd call this, sausage fried rice, I guess, with some of the extra servings of rice that we have and some of the vegetables. You don't have soy sauce, but we have beef bouillon and we have salt and things that we can do to make it flavorful. And then, of course, we've got the mackerel, which, like I said, it's kind of like tuna. So whatever you would do with tuna, you could do with this. You could make a cream sauce out of our flour and our milk, and you could have this a cream sauce with the fish and the macaroni. Or you could just make a really thick cream sauce and mix it up and have it kind of let it cool off and have it like a sandwich with your flatbreads. You could do that with the chicken as well. You could make lots of different casseroles with the pasta and make yourself a cream sauce, just kind of like making a cream and mushroom soup without the mushrooms. And you could use the chicken or the mackerel and some of the vegetables over here, mix them with your macaroni and have a really nice comforting dish. You could also mix any of these proteins really in with the Alfredo sauce and serve that with any of the pastas. Those are just some of my ideas of how I would combine these foods to make different meals. Now, it's not going to be super healthy and it's not going to be super filling, but it's going to be enough to get you through. And this is a good base to start with. We've got 20 servings of our pasta. We've got 32 servings of our breakfast starches, 30 servings of the flour or flatbread or tortilla that you make with that, 20 servings of the rice. So that's our starches that we can use to make all of those meals, mixing and matching with the other proteins and the other vegetables and the other ingredients to make them into more complete and satisfying meals. Okay, guys, let's talk about the elephant in the room. This is a budget prepper pantry from Dollar Tree. So number one, it's not the healthiest diet, but it's certainly better than having nothing to feed yourself and your family. Next, the portions aren't going to be huge. It's a good start, and over time you can add to this little by little. You also saw how we had extra of some of the basics like rice and flour that could be used to make bigger meals for hungrier people. Also, I planned this to have about a month's worth of servings. So theoretically, this could feed one person for about a month. It's probably more practical used to, say, feed a family of 4 for a week or so. In an emergency situation, we often don't have refrigeration, so storing leftover portions from some of the containers could be an issue for a single person. Depending on where you live and what time of year it is, you might be able to keep some foods cold just by putting them outside or in an unheated area of your home. We do this for a good portion of the year here in Maine. You might also have a generator to keep your fridge going or a cooler that you can run off of a power station. It might be a better solution for a single person or a smaller family to consider buying some of the foods in smaller or even single-serve packaging, although that's not always as cost-effective. But then again, neither is throwing away surplus food. This is just a sample plan to give you some ideas and help you see that you don't have to spend a ton of money to get started building an emergency food storage or prepper pantry. If budget is an issue, it's better to have something than nothing. But adapt the items you buy to what works for you and your family. Let's talk about water for just a minute. Of course, we all know we need water to have water stored for emergencies. We need it to drink and also to cook some of this food. And you can get water at Dollar Tree. It's not a bad idea. I didn't include that today because just the amount of water you would need for a month's worth for one person would add a lot to the budget. And there's much cheaper ways to get water stored, such as filling up containers you already have, whether that's empty canning jars or empty drink bottles that you've washed out well. Lastly, keep in mind that Dollar Tree isn't always the cheapest place to get something. Case in point, the canned vegetables I bought today for $1.25. I could have gotten those for 68 cents at Walmart, or sometimes even cheaper than that on sale at a regular grocery store. Some people don't have access to as many stores as others, so I wanted to limit myself to Dollar Tree and see what I could come up with just inside those limitations. But if you have access to different stores, I'm sure you could bring the cost of this down even lower. Also, keep in mind you don't have to buy it all at once like I did today. Even if you add just 1 or 2 items to your regular grocery shopping each week, you'll hardly notice the cost and it will build up before you know it. Which reminds me, I know you're wanting to hear the grand total of what this cost me today. So let's get a drum roll. $43.43 is what I spent on this beginner Prepper Pantry haul today. I was hoping to keep it under $40, but we've already talked about some of the ways that we could have done this even cheaper than I did today, and you could implement those. And in this day and age, I'm pretty happy about that total. I do have a few videos that might help give you some ideas on how to combine foods like these to make shelf-stable Prepper Pantry meals. I have several Dollar Tree meal in a bag videos where I make meals completely from Dollar Tree ingredients. And I also have a Great Depression meals in a bag video that makes really, really inexpensive meals from basic items like this. I will put those down in the video description so that you can check them out after you watch this. Thanks for coming along with me. I hope this video was helpful. Maybe it inspired you to finally start getting prepared and build that peace of mind for your family. Or maybe you are prepared, but there's someone you care about who you wish was more prepared, and you can use this to give them a little hand. The more prepared we all are, the better off we all will be. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, leave me a $ emoji down in the comments, and check out this playlist next for some more great prepping at Dollar Tree. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.